So Dan, do you want to introduce yourself?
Um, yeah, I can do. Yeah, what do you, what,
Uh,
which is, I don't want to just say I'm down, I like talking about war, but that's not
yeah,
really,
yeah, right, right.
that's
It's
about it,
totally,
really.
yeah, it's totally up to you what you want to talk about. Like whether you want to talk about like family stuff, or if you want to talk about your experience with history, with gaming, or
Yeah,
that.
okay, well, I suppose that's probably a good place to start, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, I started 1990 something. Um, my first ever box was a little box of 10 Chaos Warriors, the old ones, the mono pose.
Oh yeah,
That was
sweet.
my first thing. I got some black spray paint from Halfords, which is it's like a bicycle shop and car bits shop in the UK, and so I got this black spray paint. I got some Humbrol silver and a rubbish brush, and did some dry brushing and ruined the brush, but like I had my first unit of stuff.
Nice.
It all kind of started there, yeah. So like Chaos Warriors are kind of like my home faction, as it were, I suppose, yeah.
Oh, sweet. So chaos, it's something that we have in common. Chaos was my first army. It was Chaos Demons. Was the old corn stuff, like the bestial looking bloodletters that had the axes. That was one of my first units.
I think they were the Juan Diaz, weren't they?
Yeah.
He was the chap who does did those demonettes that are ruinously expensive.
Yeah.
Because when I quit the hobby, like I think about, because I sort of quit around about 2008 as family and work and stuff was just getting too hectic. So I thought I'll just put this to one side because it's a bit of a distraction for now, which was a mistake in hindsight, but whatever. Anyway, the long story short, I had like about a 2K list of Juan Diaz demonettes.
Oh wow!
So I kept it. It's been worth about 5 or 6 grand now, which is like gases.
Oh man.
But never mind.
Yeah. Lost armies of history, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's probably in somebody's garage somewhere.
Collecting dust. Hopefully somebody is like gave them love and they're like on the table being played and stuff. But
I hope so. Yeah, I spent ages painting those. Yeah, they were really nice models. Yeah, I keep checking on eBay to see if anybody's selling them because I did something. I can't remember how I painted them, but I remember doing something fairly unique with them. So I used like any matter, but yeah.
Yeah, are those are the skinny demonettes with like the really pointy claws, or are those the ones with the like big crab claws?
No, they're the skinny ones.
The skinny ones.
With the boobs, yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, those are my favorite ones, and I actually still have. So that was one of my original armies. So I have all 4 of the Chaos Gods, and I actually have 66 of those demonettes.
Oh, excellent! Yeah. I think they're like you can buy 5 for like 100 quid.
Yeah, they're ridiculously expensive. I was looking at getting a couple to put on chariots, so I like customized some chariots from the Tomb King's box because you get a ton of chariots in that. And I wanted to get a couple extra models to be able to like mount them on them, and I've looked for months and I've never even seen them go up for sale.
Just I can't quite open the wallet enough for that.
Yeah. Right. So let's do a question not towards gaming. So coffee or tea? I know being a Brit.
Either. I mean, statistically, Brits do drink more coffee than tea. I don't know where this tea thing comes from about the people think there's quintessentially, but yeah, most British people drink coffee. It's not most. It's more drink coffee than tea. I mean, I think we consume more beer than we do.
Oh, right.
I think there was a stat from, I think it was in 2020, like Britain consumed more beer than America did, which I thought was incredible.
Oh, that's nuts. Yeah.
We're good at that.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I love me a good beer too. Sit down with a sandwich or some fries. Oh, nice. I did not come prepared. I should have. So anything more you want to talk about history of gaming, like did you do a run of doing tournaments or?
Yeah. I mean, I did do a few tournaments with. It would have been sixth, and I won one. Wasn't very, wasn't a very big one, but it was a decent sized little local thing. So I did a few tournaments, but being young and not really being able to drive, put a kind of damper on that. And being young, you have no money, so you don't really have
right.
money to go and do these things. So it's like once every year you get to go into a tournament or something. But then I got back into the hobby. I don't know, like 6 or 7, 8 years ago, perhaps. Got into AOS because Archaon's always been like my favourite character, really. So I started off with the old Slaves of Darkness, and then I got like an ever chosen army, and when COVID hit, I managed to paint so much. I've got like AOS, like you with demons. I think I've got in AOS about a 2,500-3,000 point list of demons for each individual gods. I've got loads of bloody things to rebase.
Right. And
I've rebased all my lists, and I've got tons of these soul-like things that I'm working out how to rebase because they're really flimsy. We try and take them off the break. I've got tons of AOS I want to rebase, but I've looked at the new edition of AOS. I'm not convinced it's any better, really. It's still got the same design problem, which is the double turn mechanic, and they just can't seem to, I know some people really like it, and it's good for fun games, but I think, competitive play doesn't really work, and you see the amount of interaction, the amount of stuff that you can do in your opponent's turn in AOS has increased quite a bit, not massively, but quite a bit, and that's essentially to counter the whole double turn mechanic, and they didn't need to do any of that. They could have just got rid of that mechanic.
Yeah, just get rid of the mechanic. I was surprised that they kept that. I was thinking that they were going to go to activate a unit. So like I activate a unit, you activate a unit, and switch back and forth. That's the way I thought they were going to mix that game system up. But then they kept the double turn.
I mean, that would have been more interesting. Because I don't think, other than like Warcry, and does Necromunda use that now? Is it each model? I can't remember.
I'm not sure. I haven't played the little skirmish games for GW.
Anyway, Warcry was definitely you pick a model, you do everything with that model, and then your opponent picks a model, and then take actions with that model. So Warcry works pretty. And to be fair, I quite like Warcry. It's a decent little skirmish game, really. It's not quite as good as Mordheim, but don't know whether you ever played Mordheim.
Yeah, Mordheim is the best. Like, I think Mordheim is probably one of the best games GW's ever made. Like,
oh yeah, without a doubt, yeah. The cardboard buildings, just like cherry on the top. Just
yeah, it's a great game. Mordheim is amazing. Like the experience behind it, like your team like gains experience and gets better, and you can do a whole campaign with it. It's so good.
Yeah, but not very quickly though, which is another cool thing about it. Like, it's not like you get like, you don't level up to like level. I know it's not level 50, but like it's an MMO term, isn't it? But you go to like level 50, like end game. Like, that takes forever, and your characters often die before they get to like where they've been overpowered, really. So I really like that. But AOS, I played loads of tournaments, podiumed a few. Was never really very good at it. It doesn't. I don't know. I quite like rank and flank because it makes sense, and like, I'm a bit of a fan of history, so like I like all the old like historical tactics and like ancient battles and how like stuff actually worked. And I think Warhammer's obviously quite a bit different.
Yeah. There's like the whole fantasy aspect to it, right? Like dragons and stuff.
Like things like that.
Yeah, right. Oh, it's such a beautiful model. I love the skeleton dragon. It looks so cool.
It's an absolute pain in the arse though, because like it's too long. Like, so if you look at the bottom, if somebody charges it in the rear, you've got all of that to Yeah.
Yeah,
But I moved the model back on the base, so the nose is level with the front of the base. So when I charge into something, it's not going to get in the way of the unit. But
yeah, so it's a lot easier to
I saw somebody had snipped off the tail and put it in like the thing's mouth, so it's like a dog carrying his own tail. That's pretty clever.
Nice. So let's do another lighthearted question. What's the best sandwich?
Sandwich. I quite like a club. Yeah, probably a club sandwich.
Nice. So like turkey, bacon.
Yeah, some kind of bird and some bacon, mayo, lettuce. Normally it's a triple. So
yeah, the triple. So you've got the bread in the middle.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, you can put like pickle on the bottom layer and like something else on the top. So kind of
Oh, sweet.
Sauces. Yeah. What about you?
Sandwich for me. Yesterday I made grilled cheese with some Havarti and some Gouda, and
nice.
that was pretty good.
A few years ago I developed an allergy to cheese, which is absolutely, milk actually. It's actually whey protein that I'm allergic to, but which is absolutely rubbish considering I do like rugby, strongman.
Yeah.
Like most of the protein is like whey protein. I can't have it.
Oh, that's
the vegan proteins are horrible. They're really nasty.
So to be able to keep on weight, that's got to be tough.
It's a lot of meat.
Yeah, you got to eat a lot of chicken, a lot of beef.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. I don't know. I don't think it's that much because I've been doing it for a few years, I guess. But you just have like 5 or 6 smallish meals a day. Like you don't, some people go for like 3 or 4 massive meals and make this whole deal out of it. But I just think if you just go for like, I don't know, 5 or 6 meals that are about sort of 1,000 to 1,500 calories. So like, Big Mac, that's a meal.
Yeah.
It's not. I don't find it that challenging. It's just slightly expensive. But yeah, protein is expensive. But yeah.
All right. So I've really enjoyed the metadata videos that you've made. What inspired you to create that kind of content? I've really enjoyed that stuff.
I think initially, I like my stats. I'm very nearly finished a PhD. I've passed Viva. So I've always had an interest in kind of playing around with numbers and looking under the surface of data and trying to work out what's actually going on. Because if you collect a load of data together, you can superficially look at it, and so in this context, you can look at stuff like win rates, and that's a kind of superficial look at like a very simple average. But then actually, if you play around with the maths a bit more, then you can find out more interesting patterns that are happening like under the surface. So you can actually, I've always been interested in like trying to use data to explain like big concepts to people to help them better. So my PhD is on essentially how does a professional body generate trust in the public. So like why are politicians not trusted and why are judges trusted, for instance. It's I've always really had an interest in that. I started helping out Rob Symes, the Honest Wargamer fellow, with some AOS stats quite a few years ago now, so I've always had like an interest in sort of trying to use statistics to. There's that line, there's lies, damn lies, and statistics. I think Churchill said it, but people often sort of misquote it and get the wrong meaning of that, because what he actually meant was there's lies, which are just barefaced lies. There's damned lies, which are people misusing statistics to tell a story that isn't there. And then there's statistics, which, like a genuine application of like stats to work. So I've always really had an interest in just playing around with numbers, really. And I just sort of started doing that. And I started the YouTube channel really just for my insanity, really, because rather than sitting here ranting at.
Yeah, letting the numbers stew. You were able to actually like put them into a medium and.
Yeah, and like it's been a big investment in time, obviously, but like I think it's been worthwhile because we're really starting to see some. I wouldn't say trends appearing, but we're really starting to see like. Well, and also to like doing list reviews as well. That's quite interesting because you see the same things being taken over and over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, high elves always have a dragon.
Yeah.
Almost everybody always has a dragon because it seems to be obligatory nowadays. Gunline meta isn't really here yet, so that'll probably go. I'd imagine the dragons will probably go away to an extent when Empire get all their models and Dwarves get all their models, because then essentially multiple cannons means dragons are a bit less survivable. But yeah, so anyway, back to the question. It's just because I love playing around with statistics, really, and you know, I thought, well, this is a bit of a hobby. It's a way of like, you know, it's just a different way of interacting with my hobby, I suppose. But my hobby is just looking at the stats and one of the cool things really is like the stuff in the comments, and then people email you and stuff, and like you can have like proper conversations with people about their hobby, and it's really it's really nice that people kind of share parts of them. Yeah, so it's been really interesting, like just to connect with people that like yourself. I never, you know, without doing that, we probably wouldn't be talking.
Yep.
So
yeah, absolutely. Like. It is really cool to be able to like reach out internationally and like touch base with people and like figure out what their experience is with the game and how they enjoy it and how they enjoy it with their friends and stuff. It's super cool.
Yeah, and also it helps you understand the game better because you know, people are always correcting stuff because you always make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
There's one chap who sort of follows me called it's Grimgor or something or other, but he's always like the first one there. If ever I've got rules wrong, it's like, no, actually. I find that really useful. But
yeah. I don't think you can sit down and play a game as complicated as Old World or 40K or any of that kind of stuff and get absolutely everything right. It's like it's like physically impossible.
Yeah.
But you try to do the best you can, right? And
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Sweet. So apples or oranges?
I don't really do fruit.
Not into fruit?
Not really.
Nice.
Just varieties of meats, really.
Trying to keep that weight off.
I suppose apples, because they go quite well on pork, but like oranges go quite well on duck.
Yeah.
Sort of. Not massively, but yeah, anyway.
It's all about dressing for that meat, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Nice. So what are your goals with YouTube? Are you looking for like a subscriber count, or are you looking for like a community interaction, or
what are my goals? I don't know really. I mean, like I said, I started it really just to get the voices out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm currently trying to build a website, which is a place where people can interact with the stats, ideally. But that's a bit challenging actually, because like website builders don't seem to want to do statistical reporting very well, so it's very difficult to find one that'll actually do that. But you know, I'm keep plugging away at that. But I'd also like to sort of set up on there some kind of resource like Eventbrite, but be cheaper and a bit more focused for Warhammer. So people who want to run events, there's a sort of events booking system that they can sign in and use and get people to turn up to tournaments, and you know, and basically I'll work out my commission to be whatever the software and stuff costs. So
yeah,
I'm not going to make any money off that. But I mean, to me it's more about connecting people and just helping people, I don't know, find their tribe really. I think that's really what it's all about, because we're going to get into politics. I'm build myself steering in that direction, but it's more about sort of helping people to sort of find their tribe, I guess. So it would be nice one day maybe to make a couple of quid off it and buy some models with that couple of quid. That's about it, really. Yeah, I've got a pretty decent job, so I don't need any spare money. So it's just more about. It's more about. To be honest, I didn't expect to get anywhere above a couple of hundred subscribers. Really, I didn't really ever think that would. I think I'm quite a boring person.
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. I love the metadata.
Well, I live with me. I'm quite bored with me.
Yeah.
I like meeting new people.
So do you consider yourself a hobbyist or a gamer? Because I know a lot of people that play GW games or like model games, like they either like first and foremost I'm a hobbyist, or first and foremost I'm a gamer.
Yeah, probably gamer. I used to, back in the day, I used to do commission painting. Not at a very high standard. I was just really good at just cracking out large armies in a very short space of time. Not to an amazing standard, but like if you needed something quickly for a tournament, I was your man. Yes, but I don't really. I used to enjoy like doing the conversions and all the rest, but now I'm much more focused on just playing the game. Really, I'd say I'm probably a gamer now. Although, I haven't always been, but I think I am now. Really, I don't. Painting frustrates me really because I can't do what I want.
Yeah,
I'm not good enough.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Having painted and gamed for 30 plus years, it's like I wish I was better at painting. We all have those friends, right, that like show up with badass painted models, and we're like, oh, why can't I do something like that?
Amazing. What can I do? Yeah, I think it's not just time though. Like, cause some people, there's a guy in the UK called Russ Beale who does a bit of old world stuff, but he's been a competitive gamer for he's much better than me at actually playing the game. But he's been a competitive gamer for decades now, and won tournaments and stuff. But he also wins loads of painting awards. He's just absolutely disgustingly talented.
Yeah.
But there's people like that can crank out an army that looks absolutely amazing actually quite quickly and win a painting award and then also win the tournament.
Right.
I am jealous of.
Yeah.
I'm a petty, normal human being.
Yeah, we all have facets that we want to improve on, right? And that's what every day is about, right? Like getting better than you were yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah, win or learn. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I know you mentioned rugby and strongman.
Yeah.
Is that I was going to ask about your favorite extracurricular activities outside of gaming. I'm guessing that's
it'd be rugby.
It'd be rugby.
Yeah,
Nice.
Yeah. It's just a lot of fun, really, and it's just nice to be around like normal people and just like because like I'm not saying that in my professional life I'm not around normal people, because they are, but like in my professional life, I'm a financial advisor. I tend to be looking after people who, they've got a few coins to rub together. They're looking at investing and tax planning and all that kind of stuff. They tend to be like professional people, so it's kind of like, but then like the rugby lot are not that. They're just like normal, generally speaking, normal working class. Like, it's funny really, because like in the UK, like rugby's got this reputation as being like a sport played by gentlemen or something, and it's quite elite or whatever, or elitist. But like that's only really true in the Premiership. Like if you go to like any grassroots rugby, it's just like normal people who are bricklayers or whatever, who just occasionally like to run at people at full speed and see what happens.
Yeah, right. Nice. Is there a position that you like to play, or
I think nowadays I'm probably more suited. Do you know rugby at all?
very,
No.
very basically, yeah.
So there's a bit in the game called the scrum where 8 of your biggest blokes and 8 of their biggest blokes all kind of bind together.
Yeah,
and
you like
crouch down.
Yeah.
And then you shove against the other. So the people at the front are called the front row. It's complicated, this. And there's one that's called tight head and one that's called loose head. I think I'm probably a tight head at the moment because of my size and my strength. But like, I can play loose head, I can play second row if it's just a pushing job. You know, anyway, rugby gets quite complicated, but yeah, I'm definitely a forward. Probably, ideally, I'd be tight head, but you know, I play wherever I get told to, really. So.
Sweet, yeah. Playing in games, it's all about participation, like actually being able to be on the field and like be doing stuff.
Yeah, and also rugby and beer go together very nicely. So, there's a lot of testing your liver capacity as well.
Yeah. So how can people see your content and reach out to you?
Well, I mean, my channel's Malign Musings. I don't know why I came up with that name. Well, in fact, I do know, because a period ago, I started this Twitter account called @Archaon, and I was just like pretending to be Archaon, just trolling people. like especially when people were arguing about typically on social media you see these like equality style arguments, and where you get the usual two camps, and so I just sort of wade into that and just say everybody is inferior, everybody is equal in their inferiority to Archaon or something.
That's great.
Just to sort of just be a bit, just anyway. So I started that, and then I started Malign Music as my website, and I was going to do some stats on there. And then GW published the new community guidelines a few years ago, and they seemed like really strict. And I'm pretty good at reading legal documents. I kind of do it for a living. And I just thought I can't really be bothered to read this and understand it properly, because it links into, because legislation in the UK is very complicated, so like it links to so many bits of legislation. I just thought I really can't be asked to, run the risk of being in court or being sued or getting nasty letters and demands for money and all that kind of stuff. I don't really want that. So I just sort of deleted all that at the time and just thought, well, I'll just let it play out for a few years and then see what happens, then maybe come back to it. And then, it's been a few years and they released Old World, so I thought, well, I'll get back into it then. They don't seem to be actually using the things that they put in there in the new IP usage, fair usage, public policy. I can't remember exactly what it was called, but sorry, what was the question again? I forgot.
It was how can people see your content and reach out to you?
That's was it. Yeah, so I said I'm at Malign Musings, and I can't remember, but I can. So that I mean, when I get the website up and running, there'll be a contact thing on there. I do have an email address that I'll give out. It's quite an old one, but yeah, I mean, if you want to just put a comment in the video, and if anybody wants to chat, and then I've responded to all my comments so far. Fingers crossed I can keep that up, but yeah.
Sweet. That was it for questions for me. So that would be I'm down to talk about anything that you would want to talk about as well. So
is it just demons that you play, or?
So I have a ton of armies. So back here, this is all of the GW stuff that I have to put together. So that's all.
Oh, that's your pile of potential.
Yeah. Everybody always calls it their pile of shame, and I am calling it my shelves of opportunity.
Shelves of opportunity.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah.
So I have all 4 demon armies that I can play 2,000 points at with both 40k and for Old World. I've got an Empire army, I've got a Vampire Counts army. I've got Orcs and Goblins, where I've got a ton of Night Goblins. I'm starting to build a Troll Horde, putting a ton of Trolls together, and then I've got a ton of Black Orcs. Because I've got the Black Orcs,
Is that because you want to do a Black Orc thing, or is that for when Chaos Dwarves come out?
So I'm thinking about putting some Chaos Dwarves together and putting a ton of Black Orcs in them and having it be like a slave army, and just have it, because I actually think the potential for Black Orcs in Chaos Dwarf army is like nuts, because you actually get access to Demonology and to Dark Magic, and giving +1 attack, +1 AP, +1 strength to Black Orcs I think would be disgusting.
Yeah, the dark magic spell is like it's basically it's basically frenzy and hatred.
Frenzy and hatred for dark magic is.
Is it just +1 attack, or is it actual frenzy? I can't remember.
It gives frenzy, but it comes off at the end of the turn, so they lose the frenzy. So it means it prompts them to charge. So you have to charge if you're able to. You have to declare the charge.
You cast it when you wanted to, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
so it's not a problem.
I think
and like Black Orcs, Black Orcs are really good if they've got like a Black Orc war boss in the unit.
Yep.
Like they struggle a bit because they're a bit kind of swingy, like you said, they haven't got that many attacks. They're very high strength, so they're likely to win. They've got decent AP, but like the few number of attacks is if you spike wrong, you roll low on your hit rolls, then they don't really do anything. But if you put a war boss in there, then he kind of balances out that kind of.
Yeah, he balances it all out. With it being a Black Orc unit, you still get to choose banners from the Orc Codex. So you still put the Red Raggedy banner in there, so they go to Weapon Skill 5, and it's +1 combat resolution. So Weapon Skill 5 Black Orcs, they have Furious Charge, and then you give them Frenzy. So on the charge, with 2 hand weapons, they go to 4 attacks apiece.
Yeah, and they got choppers.
Yeah, and choppers, so +1 AP.
7 and AP 3 or something?
It goes so strength 4 if you go additional hand weapons, and then great weapons they'll go to strength 6. And then
isn't there a wound thing with choppers? Isn't it reroll 1s to wound?
It's reroll 1s to wound, on the charge.
Yeah.
So you get hatred. So rerolling all miss hits, and then you have choppa, so rerolling 1s to wound. So that unit rerolls a ton of dice, which is like unheard of in Old World. Like they took away so many rerolls.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much in the Orc and Goblin book that I think is fundamentally broken, but it doesn't seem to be. You don't see people like taking all the like cool stuff though from the Orc book. Like, it's a bit. I just find that a bit weird. Like, because they've got that cool dispel thing as well, haven't they? Where they get have they or am I getting the wrong faction?
Dispel, do you mean like the green amulet?
Is it called that? I can't remember.
Yeah, so there's like the glowy green amulet, which you put onto a guy, and if the unit gets targeted by magic, it gets dispelled on a 2+.
No, I'm thinking of something else, but yeah, I mean they've got so many like what's the because they get there's a thing in the Arcane pardon me, there's a thing in the Arcane Journal that's basically like the high elf reroll.
Reroll to cast.
Yeah.
They've got 2. I think they actually have 2 staffs now that give reroll to cast, and then they have 1 that is reroll to dispel.
Yeah, I mean there's so many like weird little mechanics. It's weird that Orcs and Goblins aren't doing any better than they are. Or maybe it's because Orcs and Goblins. But you always found this with like AOS, like Greenskin players. They've got some cool stuff in their list, and there are like cool lists that do win games. But like Greenskin players tend to be a bit more gung ho. They tend to like take the stuff that they want to just smash into the opponent and just like cause a bit of mischief really. so it's like, it's funny how like the factions, like people embody the factions a little bit, and they
Yeah.
kind of anthropomorphize it and kind of like play into the character, which can actually affect the overall balance of like the meta, because Orcs and Goblins should be way better than they are, but they're not, because it's my opinion, but I think that people sort of lean into the character of it and just like
Yeah.
sometimes forget about winning the game in
Yeah.
favor of just trying to crump the big thing.
Yeah, no, the Orc player at the tournament, he's always the guy that when he needs to declare wah, he's actually like screaming wah, right?
Wow.
Like
yeah,
yeah. That's the embodiment of those players,
Yeah,
absolutely.
you do get those. Yeah,
Yeah.
they get quite boring after a while.
Yeah, you're just used to it. Like if you're sitting next to him, you're like, I know that this is coming.
I remember an AOS tournament I went to years ago, and there was a bloke there, and there was a bloke there who brought a Bretonnian army, and this was just before they kind of retconned Bretonnians out of existence. But every time he rolled the charge dice, he brought his little bugle with him. He do like a little
Like Colonel Custard, like
yeah. For the lady.
Oh man.
Yeah, every time he rolled some charge dice, which in AOS is quite a lot. So
Yeah.
it was quite cool the first time, but then at the end of Sunday, it was getting a bit boring.
Yeah. Oh, this is happening again. Yeah. No, I get that. So other armies, I think that's what I've got for Old World, and then 40K, I've got a million armies as well. I've got Space Marines and Sisters and Tyranids and all the demons that I have for Old World, and I've got a Chaos Guard army that I've converted to be Blood Pack, which are the bad guys out of the Gaunt's Ghost books.
Right?
World Eaters, Word Bearers, Grey Knights. I've got 40K. I've got a ton of armies.
You've got everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, 40K I had a bit of a go at back in the day, but I've tried to build the Sisters army, and then I got to 2,000 points, and then they released another update, and then it became 1740 or something.
Yeah.
Because it depointed everything, and then I built it up to 2K again, and then I did another bloody update, and it was now down to like 1810, and then I just kind of gave up. So I'm like,
Yeah.
am I ever going to finish this? It's just going to keep happening.
Yeah.
So it's sat there on that shelf over there, but I think it is actually 2,000 points now. But I think they've corrected the points again, haven't they? But 40K. I've never really been a. I don't know. I've never really. It's never really kind of grabbed me really. Like, I don't know. It's probably all the guns. Dishonorable.
Yeah. So fantasy for me was my like first game that I got into.
Yeah.
So really played that. I played it for like over 10 years. I played fantasy, like Rank and Flank. It's my jam. I'm like all about it. And then GW got rid of 8th edition, and End Times happened, and it turned into Age of Sigmar, and I was like, okay, and I'm done doing this. I'm gonna go into 40K now, because I was like, I'm not gonna play your Space Marines in fantasy, which is like essentially what happened. So got into 40K, played 40K up until Old World came out, and I was like, my stuff's coming back. Let's like jump back into doing Old World and do Rank and Flank. I've always been a competitive player, so I've always played in tournaments and tried to play the game really, really well and figure out tactics and ways to like maneuver on the board and force multipliers, like figuring those things out and stuff. That's always been what I've been about.
And there's, I suppose it's pleasingly for me anyway, there's not that many of them in Old World. Like, there's not, because one of the big problems that AOS had was like they kind of let stuff stack so you could get like some fairly ridiculous results. Like I had a goblin doing, the goblin I can't remember what the effect, how you got it to do this, but then you used to be able to have a goblin hero that could hypothetically do 216 mortal wounds or something ridiculous just by stacking a load of effects on it.
Oh man.
And that goblin hero did indeed kill my arcade at one game. He didn't get the full 216. He only got like a measly 50.
Only 50.
It's like just so ridiculous, but yeah, legal. But I think that's one of the problems that AOS had is, and I think the other thing is like the funny thing that sort of gets me about how Games Workshop promote games is like AOS, they promote it as being quite simple, and it is easy to pick up and play, I think, in general. But then you look at something like the Old World, and yes, the game itself looks quite complicated, but actually each faction doesn't really add that much to the rule set.
Yeah.
Like, we've got a lot of common words, and each faction has like something slightly interesting about it, but not so interesting. So, for instance, the Troll Horde's a really good example, because everybody's got this regen saying they can re-roll, but it doesn't work against magical, so it's not 100% valuable. It's a really interesting mechanic that makes them a bit tough against normal stuff, but struggle a bit against chaos because everything's magical.
Yeah.
But so to me, like AOS, they've got 17, 18, 20 odd factions. I don't know. I can't remember.
Yeah, I think it's 15 or 16. I think.
I thought it was more than that. Anyway,
oh, is it more than that? Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, must be, because like the Forces of Order have got like 8 or 9, haven't they? And Chaos is like 6 or 7. And then Destruction is like 4 or 5, and then Death is like 4 or 5 as well, isn't it?
So it's like 20 something, yeah.
But the point I keep trying to make is that if you look at AOS, because each faction's rules are so different and they change the core rule set so much, or they used to, in the new edition it does less, but that probably won't hold true when they actually get the books out. But because they changed how the core rule set works, essentially each faction, like a game of Ossiarch Bone Reapers versus I don't know, Slaves to Darkness, is very different to in terms of how the rule set works and how the two factions interact on the table. That's almost an entirely different game in terms of the rule set, because of how the individual factions change the game. So actually, when you look at AOS competitively, it's way more difficult to be across everything and to understand how the game works in terms of how your faction might interact with every single other faction.
Yeah.
Whereas in the Old World, you've got a cool rule set, and your stuff will do more or less. Your heavy cavalry will do more or less the same job that their heavy cavalry will do. Like your monstrous infantry will do more or less the same job as their monstrous. So, like, you've got battlefield roles, and really you build your army out of the faction that you quite like the look of, but then you build it out of that, and then the units that fulfill the battlefield roles that you want on the table. If that makes sense.
Yep.
So to me, it's kind of like it's a hard learning curve, but like the mastery level is fairly easy. If that makes sense. It's a bit like musical instruments, and some that are really easy to pick up but very difficult to master, like piano. But then some instruments are really difficult to pick up. But actually, the mastery curve is quite shallow, because once you know how to play the instrument competently, getting from there to being very, very good, there's not that much of a leap, like flute, for instance.
Yeah, the step isn't very far.
Yeah, so I don't think that the Old World is more complicated than AOS. I think they're about the same. And I think both of them are easier than 40k.
Yeah.
At the moment, because 40k is very complicated and massively bloated in terms of the rule set. But,
Yeah, my appeal for Old World over 40k is that when you actually put it on the table, it truly looks like the beginning of a battle, because everything's lined up, everything's like ready to face against the opposition, and in 40k everything's just hiding behind L-shaped ruins. It's all about like let's hide behind this tiny little wall that in reality a tank would actually just shoot through.
Yeah.
and I totally understand that it's hard to like make a rule set that is going to facilitate putting reality onto the tabletop. I like get that, but
Yeah. I don't think you can do it with like
Yeah.
in a modern warfare
Yeah, yeah.
context. I don't think you can do it because
Yeah.
like you know like you said, like a tank is shooting at some infantry, for instance. If there's a wall in the way, the wall's not a problem.
Yeah.
But if there's a small mound of earth, that's a massive problem.
Mm.
So you know, if they're hiding behind a tiny hillock, they're absolutely fine
Mhm.
because you know the round will just bounce off the surface, you know, and go over their heads. But if they're behind a wall, it'll go straight through and blow up.
Yeah.
So like, how do you write a rule set that encapsulates that when
Yeah.
actually the game is played on a flat surface with some plastic things to get in the way?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's like, I don't think you can actually generate a realistic modern warfare style game
Yeah.
unless you go to like epic scale, and then you're looking at like
Yeah.
dispositions and stuff, which is, you know, a bit more sort of pulled back. But yeah. But like you said, the old world, it feels like realistic.
Yeah, I'm like driven by the visuals, right? Like I'm driven by look at my cool knights that are charging your like your goblins, and
Yeah.
we can like pretend to see the sun shining down and glistening off of them, and as they like trumpet their horn and like charge in with their lances and stuff, and
Yeah.
it's actually like represented on the tabletop instead of my guy with a laser gun pokes his head out, shoots at you, and then jumps back.
I just don't. But I guess, you know, 40k is very popular, isn't it?
Yeah, 40k is really huge.
I don't understand why. Like, I don't understand why Space Marines are so popular, because I don't know. Maybe they just encapsulate something for people.
Yeah,
The whole kind of power armor style, you know, aesthetic.
yeah. I think there's just a big appeal to the demographic that GW markets towards, which is like 14 to 20-year-old boys, and they
Yeah.
really like the look of the Space Marine. Like when I was that age, I thought Space Marines looked so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess for me, it's like the process to become a Space Marine is so absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, it's like horrific.
It's just, it's horrific.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm always a bit sort of concerned when they try and like. There seems to be this sort of movement to incorporate like modern day issues into like art nowadays, and I always get a bit kind of nervous at that because like. Especially with something like 40k, because there's no good guys, right? They're all evil.
Yeah.
Like every single faction is totally like corrupt, evil, whatever. You know, you don't have to scratch the surface very hard to find evidence of that. And like, you know, trying to insert modern day, it just doesn't make any sense. Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like,
it totally
why-
shouldn't. It should just be tell a story to tell a story, right? Like you tell a good story, you're gonna have people that are gonna show up and consume whatever content you're creating. It's all about storytelling, and that's what drives me on the tabletop is storytelling. Like creating that good guy versus bad guy scenario of like my dragon is taking on your like Bretonnian hero that has heroic killing blow. Like that duel off is storytelling on the tabletop.
Well, and also the other thing about the old world is that it's, in terms of like morality, it's a lot simpler in that there are actually good guys.
Yep.
Like Bretonians are the good guys,
Yep.
right? You know, the High Elves are mostly the good guys, but occasionally do stupid, dumb stuff.
Yeah. Believe themselves to be the good guys. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at Teclis, who seems to have done everything wrong.
Yeah.
You know, and then you've got the bad guys, which are like chaos, you know, and they're obviously the bad guys. Like, you know, they want to destroy everything.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's kind of quite evil.
Pursuing power and stuff. Yeah.
Sort of good guys, but they've got issues. You know, so there is like this is a very kind of simple. It's like, you know, going back to like, you know, the original Star Wars. You had Jedi and you had Sith, and they would fight, and that's the story basically. It's very, very simple, you know, narrative So it's quite easy to understand and quite easy to sort of interact with. Whereas like once you start getting really complicated and putting like a postmodernist philosophical overlay over something, it gets quite complicated and quite confusing. And I think that's why we've seen this in quite a lot of other franchises. Why that new generation, isn't interacting, because they take a look at it and just think, I don't really get it. I don't get why that person's punching that other person. Like it seems to just be. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and they don't want to put in the time to figure out the backstory and stuff.
No, that you just want the good guy versus the bad guy, and then both of them like becoming a bit superpowered towards the end of whatever it is, and then they both knock 10 bells out of each other, and the good guy wins, and then finish.
Yeah,
that's quite entertaining. It's quite simple. It's easy for people to interact with. So if people want to be that kind of, I want to be a valiant crusader, and go off to clean the undead from off the planet, off the face of the planet, and all the rest. You can do that. You can, if you want to, I want to be a general of the empire and set up a bulwark against the invading hordes of chaos or whatever. You can do that. Or if you want to be like the evil guy who just wants to watch the world burn, then you know what I mean. You can It's quite simple, But which is why I quite like it as well, because it's quite easy to interact with like the narrative. Really, the motivations are quite straightforward to understand, which makes for better storytelling, in my opinion. Generally, not always, but
not having a character that's like puddle deep, that they're super shallow. You like don't know like or understand their motivations or like who they truly are. They've just been like given the holy sword and you need to go do this thing now. That's like,
hold on the way, can you pick up 10 mushrooms?
yeah
But again, that's why I quite like Old World. It's easy, it's nice, it's kind of, it's comfortingly easy, I guess, which is kind of the point, really, isn't it? And if you want to engage in like thought experiments, you can, but like you said, tell a story by telling a story. I quite like that, because that sort of reminds me of like Star Trek in the 60s and the 80s, and which was all about sort of showing how different species and races could be horrible to each other, and making quite an obvious political point, but without actually just obviously saying it. So people can like understand it by allegory rather than by being confronted with like a rather uncomfortable truth. Which, But anyway, politics.
Pretty divisive topic for sure.
I don't know why.
I don't understand why either. Like, we should be able to, like, regardless of our viewpoints of like any of those hot button topics, like we should be able to just sit down and have a conversation at the end, like no matter how heated it got, have a beer at the end. Like we should absolutely be able to like have discourse and like talk about things.
But it seems to be more and more difficult, really. But anyway, we're off topic. She's a happy point.
So with Old World, what's the last game that you were able to get in?
Oh God, it's a while ago now. When was the last game I got in? I suppose we did some stuff like club. I played we did a slow growth thing, and I took about 3,000 points of chaos against. It was 2,750 against the other Empire Army. Massive gun line.
It's a big game.
Yeah, I kind of set everything up on the flanks with minimal in the middle, and just kind of marched on my chaff forwards, just hoping that my flanks would make contact, because I knew that if all I needed was one flank to make contact, then it could roll down his gun line.
Do pincer,
and that it worked. I got in, killed everything. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's like Maasai tactic, isn't it? Horns of the bull.
Nice.
Have you seen Rorke's Drift?
I have not.
It's a sort of semi-famous. I don't know, it was 70s, 80s. Michael Caine was was kind of like one of the central characters in it. I think it was his first big role, but anyway, it was the story of like, do you remember the Praetorian Guard, the 40k?
Oh yeah.
That's they're based on the Rorke's Drift thing.
Oh, nice.
So I think there was a little mini game of one of the White Dwarfs called like the Battle of Orcs Drift or something like that, which was based on this kind of film where essentially about 200 British soldiers held off about 10,000 Maasai warriors over a period of like a day or two. But anyway, the Maasai, they weren't actually incompetent to warfare. There was a whole reason. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. But they had this strategy called the Horns of the Bull, where essentially, if you imagine like a bull's horns, you have like all your kind of infantry here. So you send forward your skirmishers, your cavalry around the side. Skirmishers collapse onto the heavy infantry as the opponent goes through, and then the cavalry like encircle and kill you basically. So yeah. So that's that whole time. See what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Like I can do this thing that the Zulus did 200 years ago. It was quite
Nice.
it worked.
Nice. Yeah, I'm all about putting real life tactics onto the tabletop because it actually translates really, really well to Old World. Like doing the Fey Flea and pincer attacks, just like the bullhorns, and doing the closing door and a rolling flank or a denied flank. There's like a ton of like real world tactics that like truly translate to the tabletop.
It works because they've written the game so that they do work. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the point, really. Which I quite like. And the other thing I quite like about it is that more or less everything does what it looks it should do.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Like they've written the rules, so the model does the thing that you expect it to do. You know, like I said, unlike AOS, tiny little things that seem to do loads of damage, and massive big things that seem to do nothing.
Yeah.
It just doesn't seem. Whereas like with I nearly called it fantasy then, but with the Old World, that well, I guess it is more of it because, like I read their annual report, did a video on it this week, and what was interesting was one of the lines in there, which is from the CEO, was like one of our franchises in the worlds of fantasy or something like that, is Warhammer: The Old World, which we started in the 80s. So GW see that as like, they do, well, at least the executive board seem to see the Old World as like almost 9th edition of Warhammer.
Yeah.
So I think that's quite nice as well, that they're recognising that it's not, I'm glad they didn't put which was a totally new thing that we launched this year based on an old, do you know what I mean? They could have said that, but instead they said this is a thing that we've been doing since the 80s, and it went away from it, but we brought it back. So hopefully, I'd like to think we'd end up. And the other thing is, they mentioned a couple of times that they're definitely going to expand what they're doing with the Old World. Like, it's selling very, very well.
Yeah.
Above expectations. So, and I think you can tell, like, whenever something comes up to pre-order, like, everything's sold out.
Yeah, everything sells out super fast. The inventory at local game stores is, like, you've got to be there on delivery day to get the things that you want. Like, there's going to be some stuff that's going to be sitting on the shelf, but to get the, like, that special character that you want or the chariots or something, you've got to be there when they get delivered.
Yeah, I'm very lucky because I live about an hour away from Lenton. So if I need anything, I can just drive over there. Because the thing about the Lenton, if you ever around Nottingham, but if you go to literally, so because the factory is where the store is, they've got everything in a storehouse somewhere.
Yeah.
So if you go there and like it's not on the shelves, you can just like my own full of doom, like it wasn't on the shelves. I said, have you got any?
Is it in the back?
Oh yeah, it'll be in the back somewhere.
Yeah.
So if it's available on like the web store, it's available to the staff in Lenton basically. Mm-hmm. So it's, I'm quite lucky with that really. I remember like in the 90s, you used to, with all the, I don't know whether you remember, but you used to get this like Citadel Miniatures little catalogue thing which had all the bits, and you'd ring up Nottingham and you'd speak to one of the trolls. And you could like order individual parts.
Get like a melt-a-gun or a bow or something. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. As long as it's metal, anyway.
Yep.
But I remember like in the 90s, you could go to Lenton, you could ask them for something, and then they go and do it like straight away. So you could ask them for like, oh, I just need the anvil bit off the top of the anvil, and you just pay you £2.50 or whatever it was at the time, and probably less than that. It's probably about £1. Anyway, and you could just go and grab a drink in Bugman's and have a look, go around the museum or whatever, and then it'll be ready. Because they go off and tell somebody to make one.
Yeah,
it used to be brilliant, but it's still quite cool that you can just go in and say, as long as it's on the web store, they've got it, basically.
Yeah.
But so I'm quite lucky living quite close to that. I suppose it could be in Australia where everything's expensive and there's no supply chain.
That would be terrible. I'm glad I'm located where I am. I've got a game store close to me that is really stocked up on stuff. They make sure to go above and beyond and get really high quantities of inventory. And they're truly like a hobby store. So the only product that they have in the entire store is tabletop models. They do all the different historicals and
bolt action and stuff like that.
Yeah, they have all of that stuff, but they also do Old World and 40K, and they've got basically every model there besides the made to order stuff.
Cool. Whereabouts are you?
So I'm located in Salt Lake City in Utah, in the Rocky Mountains.
Oh. Is it nice bit of the world there, or?
Yeah. I've got mountains on both sides of us, so lots of hiking, tons of snowboarding and skiing in the winter. We've got some lakes that are close that aren't the Salt Lake, so some reservoirs and stuff that you can go boating at and fishing. There's tons of outdoor stuff to do.
I live in a place called Lincolnshire, which is unbelievably flat.
Oh yeah.
There is nothing. It's there's tons of sky. Yeah. It's just flat. The whole there's no. I've got to drive about half an hour before I get to a hill. It's.
Oh man. Yeah, I'm 15 minutes from Cottonwood Canyon. It's one of the canyons here in the south end of the valley, and goes right up the mountains. So
very, very different environment.
Yeah.
Are you excited about the presidential elections?
Not really. I try to stay out of politics. I vote and everything. But it's just like I said earlier, I don't sign up for Democrat, Republican, none of that stuff. I read into the issues and I actually look at the legislation, what are we trying to pass? And then I vote on my conscience. So it's do I believe in this thing or do I not? And that that's the way that I vote.
I'm very similar. I think I've voted for all the main parties in the UK at some point in my voting life, as it were. I don't think I've voted for the same people twice in a row ever. In general, my philosophy is just vote for the opposition, because power corrupts, so the people are in are probably corrupt.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
That's my general position, but speaking as somebody who does participate in investing in the markets, it would be nice to have a boring world for a few years.
I know, right?
We've managed to get a boring prime minister in the UK. It'd be really nice if America could have a boring president, and everybody could just get on with their lives.
Yeah, everything could just be normal. Yeah.
We could have people in government that are interested in making things work. That would be lovely. We had our experiment with Bang Fizzy Poppy sort of leaders recently, and that didn't go so well. So boring is the way forward, I think.
Yeah. All right. So, is there any other questions you want to cover?
I don't think so. No, I mean, I was thinking about what we could do, like collaboration. But like, I don't know. I mean, next time you go to a tournament, do you mind if I sort of give you a call and have a chat about it?
Oh yeah, for sure. We can talk about. Would you want to talk afterwards, or would you want to talk before? We could do both.
Yeah, or both. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it'd be quite interesting if, especially if you like go to like a 5-game, like a decent, well, like one of loads of attendees could do like a list review show or something like that.
Yeah.
Go through some
lists. Talk about like list preparation, and then what my plan is in like how I look through the lists of everybody and figure out tactics against any armies, that kind of stuff. I can totally do that.
Yeah, because I think like preparing to go to a tournament, like I've been banging I've actually got a couple of people who didn't think they were tournament people who actually started going to them, which is nice. And they said they thoroughly enjoyed it, which I keep telling everybody you will. 40k tournaments get a bit sketchy sometimes, but Old World tournaments is so new. I can't imagine anybody's there like
nobody's sweaty. Like so my local community, I've actually TO'd the Slow Grow at that hobby store. So at Gaggio, I've TO'd the Slow Grow there. And then I know the TO at the other game store that is the competitive game store. And he and I have like cross paths and like how to organize things and how to rule on different rulings where GW hasn't had an errata, how to cover that kind of stuff, and like what my thoughts are, what his thoughts are, like what's the wording in the rule book, try to figure out that kind of stuff. And I've tried to bridge the divide between those two stores because they're two very polarized groups of people. The one store where I did the Slow Grow, they're all hobbyists. They love the game, but they don't like the feeling of the high stakes pressure. Like they feel like there's pressure when they go to tournaments. And then at the other game store, the people there, they're all about tournaments. They actually have, like, there's a team there and they have jerseys and go around in the States playing in different, like, really big GTs. Like, they'll go to, like, the Bay Area Open, they'll go to the Las Vegas Open, go to Nova, they go to, like, the really big tournaments in the States, and they have, like, a tournament team for 40K and stuff. And I've tried it's only been 6 months since Old World came out, and I've tried to bridge that divide and being like, hey guys, like I want the Slow Grow people to come out to the tournaments. And then they're like I've gotten some like pushback and people wanting to go and participate in that. And I like, it's so laid back. Like the Old World tournaments are so cool. Like I haven't had a guy.
Like, if you're going to go to a tournament, right, and you've not, it's your first tournament, and you've not really played with your army very competitively before, you're probably going to lose the first game.
Yeah.
You're going to learn a lot. You'll lose the first game, and then the pressure's off because you can't win. If you don't win all your games, you can't win a tournament. Well, that's not actually true in the Old World. Actually, quite a few tournaments have been won with, especially 5 gamers. I think. It's actually quite rare to get 5 wins at a 5-game tournament, mostly. But anyway, the point is, like, if you're just starting out, you're not really going to win the tournament. Like, that's never going to happen. So, that's not, well, unless you're insanely lucky. Or you're secretly a genius and you haven't yet to become apparent. I don't see. I get the big pressure on themselves, and that pressure is, it's internal. It's not really, it's not really a result because the tournament's putting people under pressure. But I mean, it's interesting. Like scoring in tournaments is something that always interests me. It's like how different TOs like score different results. Because there seems to be like 2 or 3 camps of thought at the moment.
Yeah.
And, I desperately need to sort out my own tournament, really, but another time issue. But what I want to do is like a rugby style scoring. So in rugby, basically, if you win, you get 4 points. If you draw, you get 2 points. If you lose, you get 0. But the bonus points. So there's bonus points for scoring 4 tries as it happens, and also by losing, but not by much of a margin. So if you lose by 7 or fewer points, then you get a bonus point. So you've lost, but you still get a point. For the league, as it were. So I'd like to do something like that with the old world to sort of incentivize people. So for instance, you could have something like, I don't know, if you lost, but you only lost by up to 500 points, you get a bonus point for it being like a tight win or whatever. And you can have like another bonus point for like, I don't know, getting 1,000 kill points or something. You know, so like that. So basically, what that means is if somebody wins, they could get their 5 points for getting over the 1,000. But then the loser, if they lost by less than 500 points and they managed to get 1,000 kill points, they'd still get 2 points, which is the same result as a draw, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But like if you do really well, but you only lose because your opponent's that much better than you, then you still get some points for doing a really good job, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I'd like to do something like that because I think that'd be quite an interesting mechanic to kind of get people to take risks and get more points, basically, rather than just hold back and try and. Like there was a tournament I went to fairly recently. It was a five game affair, and one of the games there, I think the result was something like 87 points 0-0 or something, because they basically just looked at each other all game, and then one unit died. It ended up being a draw because basically both armies were constructed that as soon as one made the first move, the other would just swamp it. You know, so they both had to sit there.
Yeah, so they were both counterpunch armies. Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. Well, actually, it was Beasts of Chaos with tons of chariots, counterpunch army, and Vampire Counts with about 5 Wailing Dirges. So, you know, if the Beasts of Chaos went close, the Wailing Dirge would come out and just kill everything.
Yeah.
And if the vampires got close, then the chariots would just come out and smash through everything. So they just literally just had to sit there all game, just watching each other and not really doing anything. Which, you know, I guess you want to have some kind of mechanic to incentivize people to not do that, to just take a risk, just see what happens, you know.
Yeah.
Actually engage.
Yeah, no, there should be points for like getting a unit in your opponent's deployment zone, or
I mean that's another way of doing it, like adding additional objectives that give you more points towards the tournament rather than towards the actual game. I think that's something that we haven't. You saw that quite a bit in AOS before the last edition dropped. I mean, I'm pretty sure it'll probably be the same now, but you saw a lot of like tournament points being won in game, which I thought was always quite interesting. So it'd be interesting to see how that develops in the old one, really.
Yeah, I think there should be more to scoring than just line them up, knock them down. For sure, because it does incentivize the counter punch like pretty heavily.
In what way?
So, like the Vampire Counts army, for example, the tactic that I've used with that, I think the Scream is a little broken at the moment. I think it's one of the only things that needs to truly be changed in Old World to like really balance things out. But the thing that I've done with the Vampire Counts is I just make a battle line and I just move it forward, and I just either push my opponent off the table. So if they're gonna do what the Beastman did, is just like stand there and look at me, I'm gonna move 8 or 5 inches, or I'm gonna move 10 inches towards them every turn, because I get the reserve move off on my Mortis engine. And then my whole battle line, it's an 18-inch bubble, so 36 inches, my whole battle line just moves forward twice because I get reserve move. And then I'll just do that every single turn, and all my Screams just stay behind my battle line. And unless you can kill, I think you have to do 23 damage to a zombie unit to make it entirely poof in a turn to be able to run it over. You have to be able to do 23 damage to be able to break through my battle line. And then if you don't, I just start screaming at you every turn.
Because they're going to be 40, aren't they?
Yeah.
But I mean, to be fair, 3 Tuscarora chariots can probably do that. So,
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, 3 Tuscarora chariots, they're gonna...
3 Razor Claw chariots can probably do that.
Yeah.
A combination of chariots can do that. Then you get screamed at. So, I mean, it's a problem, because I don't... Because I think in that army, he had like his only big unit was like... what did he have? He had like 20 odd Ungors. And then he had the banner with the -1 to hit thing, and then he had like a horrible Doom with like 3 million, strength 7, AP 12, whatever attacks.
Yeah.
That build.
Yeah, the standard. Usually the banner that they use is the poison banner, and then it's Ungors with additional hand weapons. So they have 1 billion attacks, and then they have a roll to see if they get frenzy because of the Doom Bowl, so they get even more attacks.
Yeah, I think it was that. But like you said, that probably can't actually punch through a unit of zombies in 1 turn.
Yeah, in 1 turn, because the other thing is the counterplay is with the zombies. You never charge with zombies because you don't want your opponent to kill you in your turn.
Yeah.
So you only, like, if you're walking up with zombies, you never charge. You just go to an inch away. And you're like, hey, I'm an inch away. Now you charge me in your turn, do some damage, and then in my turn, I get to raise zombies back and then scream at you with my 2 Banshees and Mortis Engine and see how much damage I get to do to you.
To be fair, it's it probably was impossible for Mark, who's a Beastman player, but because I think I played a vampire count with my Chaos, and I think I charged, what was it, like 5 Chosen Knights, maybe, and it was definitely Chaos Lord and Manticore into a block of, I think it was 36 skeletons, and got rid of them in 1 turn.
That'll do it. Something like that. Yeah, like in my last tournament, I actually took the vampire counts and I charged 6 Blood Knights and my zombie dragon into 40 zombies and poofed them.
But there's not a lot.
Yeah. It usually takes at least 2 units to be able to do it.
Yeah, or I suppose if you got first charge, it makes it easy because their ranks disappear.
Yeah, because then you get rid of their ranks.
So you'd only need to do what, 19 probably then, wouldn't you?
Yeah, if you get rid of their ranks and they've got 40, then you need to do 21 because they still have close order.
Yeah, but you'll have a banner and they won't.
Unless they're a madman and they take a banner.
Yeah. Pardon?
Huh?
Zombies can't take a banner, can they?
Yeah, they can take a banner and a musician. They
Really?
can't take. Yeah, they can't take.
Massively inspired by banners, obviously.
Yeah, like there's a local guy that plays vampire counts that's been running banners in his zombie units, and I've told him over and over and over again, stop taking banners in your zombie units because you're just giving points away to your opponents.
Well, if they can chew through it, that's the...
Yeah, they do have to dedicate to chew through the zombie units, but you absolutely can, and those zombie units are never going to win combat.
Yeah, I think banners. I think what they've done with banners, it makes it. That's one of the hardest choices I have when writing lists. Though, is do I actually take a banner? Because this thing is probably going to die. So do I really need the extra combat res?
Yep.
Is it really gonna make a big difference?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's such a finely balanced because that tournament. I mean, I just took a list of whatever I had painted, which wasn't very good. whatever I had painted and back on square bases anyway. But yeah, I had like 3 units of Khorne Knights just because I got the models and I thought that might work. It didn't, because Frenzy's you can't really control it when you've only got movement 7. But
yeah, Frenzy can be very hard. Using that, you would want to use hounds to help screen, make it so they can only see specific things.
Yeah, I did. I mean, my problem was the game I played against a vampire count person. There was a massive bit of scenery in the middle of the table, so they just kind of hid everything behind there. So I had to get, I couldn't really get at anything. So it was really, and I only had 2 terror guys as well. They just kind of plunked in front. And I was like,
and it was at a tournament.
Yeah.
Was the terrain piece? Were you playing the tower? So the towers were the victory points?
Yeah. So, but it just meant there was this big, annoying thing in the middle, so I couldn't do any of my stuff. And the problem was the Terrorgeist have got Fly 9 and Swift Stride, I think.
Yeah.
So their charge range is more than my Chaos Knights. So I couldn't get my Chaos Knights in range to... I had no counterplay against that, really.
Yeah. So, Terrorgeist is really good because its fly is so far.
And it's got the Wailing Dirge thing that it can use even after it's charged in.
Yeah. So in my local meta, we've actually ruled that you can't Wailing Dirge after a charge. Because in the regular rulebook, it says that you can't do a shooting attack after you charged.
Yeah, it's not a shooting attack, though.
But it happens in the shooting phase.
It's not a shooting attack, though. It's not an attack, though.
So neither is a breath weapon, and in the FAQ, GW came out and said that a breath attack is a shooting attack.
Yeah, I mean, rules as written, you definitely can. What the tournament I'm going to at the end of this month is what they've done is they've put the 0 to 3 rule on things with Wailing Dirge. For vampire counts, so you only have 3 of them, which I think is, it's okay. So you could take 1 Mortis Engine and 2 Terrorgeist, but then you lose your 2 Banshees.
Yeah, you can't take the Banshees.
Or you could take your Mortis Engine and your 2 Banshees, but that means you don't get the Terrorgeist. So I think that's a decent restriction.
Yeah.
I think that's a decent way of handling it, really. But it is an insane ability. But I quite like having insane abilities in the game.
Yeah.
I know it is broken, but that's only because you can have 6 of them. If you limit it to 3, it's still terrible, but it's not that bad.
Yeah, and the other ruling that my local meta has done is that you can't have same abilities don't stack. So that means the Necromancy Spiritual Vortex that does -1 leadership, you can't put 2 of those out and have -2 leadership.
Okay, that's pretty sensible. I think that makes sense.
Yeah, so different abilities stack. So if you do a Spiritual Vortex and then Spirit Leech and then Wailing Dirge, that is a -5. But you can't do 2 Spirit Leeches and 2 Spirit Vortexes and then have it be it's like a -8.
Yeah, you can get more or less everybody else leeching too.
Yeah.
Relatively easily.
You roll dice and your guys just die. Doesn't matter what you roll, your thing just dies.
Well, unless you get Snake Eyes.
Yeah.
But it's a bit of a problem. Yeah. The other thing that rules as written that I think really screws with people's heads is it's a large target, so it can charge into the unit here and Wailing Dirge the unit behind. So it can see over because it's a large target.
Yep.
So it can charge into your infantry and then Wailing Dirge your general, your level 4 wizard that's just hiding behind the unit.
Yeah.
It doesn't have targeting rules like missile weapons, so it can do that.
Yeah, it specifically says that it ignores lone character. Yeah, you can't target a character if they're in the unit, but you can target a character if they're in the 3-inch protection.
Yeah. which even Way Watchers can't do, and Way Stalkers, which I find offensive.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't wait for Wood Elves. What's the faction you're most excited about coming back out?
So the one that I was most excited to come out was Slayers, which we actually got, and I actually made a video about it, talking about the Slayer army and how it's actually like doable and what the mistakes that they made and making it so the Goblin Hewer is essentially not takeable. It's a mercenary unit. And I play tournament style, so that, and in tournaments they're not allowing allies or mercenaries.
Oh.
So
over here, mercenaries are allowed, allies aren't.
Oh, is that the case? Yeah, here we don't allow allies or mercenaries.
Okay. Well, and the other thing is, you wouldn't ever want to take a Goblin Hero. Like, I initially thought it was really good, but then after somebody pointed out some maths, like just a cannon better, like, and it's cheaper. Like, it's just not very good. It's very good at killing big units of goblins.
Yeah,
that's about it.
Yeah, it shoots really big units of infantry really well, and that's about it.
Yeah, and that's not part of the current meta.
Yep.
Like, cavalry is the current meta, really, with the big block of infantry. So, yeah, it's and also I'm thankful, really, because I was quite excited about doing a bit of a Slayer list myself, but it's an absolute pig to assemble. Like, I think it's the worst model they've made for actually building it, because it's metal and the contact points are so little. It's just ridiculous. And most of them you can't pin. Like, I've got a little multi-tool here, and I pin all my metal models, like every single joint.
Yeah.
You know, I can fit a drill bit into it. I pin it, but like that thing you can't, because the contact points are mostly too small for you to get a drill bit.
Yeah.
So it's horrible models put together.
Oh. So, did you get the new Slayer models then?
No, I just satisfied myself with an anvil, and I'm doing like a painting video on that, and that might be where I leave the dwarves, or the dwarf list that I quite like is a bit of a balance of everything. So there's an anvil, there's an engineer, there's something else, I think a thane with a BSB, so I'm trying to go quite light on characters. And then there's loads of rangers, because there are also some iron breakers, because I think with the anvil you can just basically get an unkillable unit. You know, 2 armor save re-rolling. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, it's really good.
Like re-rolling all fails, not just re-rolling ones. They re-roll ones anyway because they've got Gromwell armor, so it's so you could anyway. And then they've got a 6-up ward, I think, against non-magical, but and then loads of iron drakes for the Trollhammer torpedoes.
Yeah, the Trollhammer torpedo is so good. Like,
and the iron drake guns themselves are really nasty as well. It's like strength 5. I think people, when they're writing this, massively underestimate like high strength missile weapons.
Yeah, high strength is where it's at, and they come with AP, don't they? It's like AP1 armor bane or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, AP it's a strength 5 handgun basically.
Yeah.
Except it's got quick shot as well, so you actually want to be charged.
Yeah, so you can stand and shoot.
They don't suffer the -1 to hit for being charged. So, and the BS4, I think. So they're just hitting on 3s, like strength 5. Nasty. I'm on the fence on Cinder Blast bombs, but I think high strength missile weapons and high toughness infantry, I think, is massively undervalued.
Yeah. T4 is like the difference between strength or toughness 3 and toughness 4 is like massive, massive.
That's why I think stuff like Treekin are amazing. So toughness 5, like toughness 5 heavy armor and a 5-up regen. They're super tanky. I think a lot of it is that people are used to like the old Warhammer Fantasy, where like you get like -1 plus saves, something stupid like that.
Yeah.
I remember like 6th edition. I think I could get a Chaos Lord down to like a -2 plus or something. So,
yeah. Always a 2+ armor. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's just ridiculous. And like AOS as well, like you've had a lot of like super tanky units with re-rolling saves and stuff like that for quite a few years. So people look at like, oh, that's only got a heavy armor, that's only a 5-up save, that's not very good. And it's like, yeah, but if it's toughness 5 and and you look at everything in the round, then actually some of these units are really good because their toughness protects them rather than the armor.
Yep. Yeah, no, toughness is really big. It's tough when like toughness 4 and toughness 5 is on a lone entity, because the lone entities get targeted by like the high strength stuff, like cannons and bolt throwers and stuff. But then when you get cavalry or units that are toughness 4 or toughness 5 and they're units, your opponent, like people really underestimate how tough they actually are, and they think, oh, I'm gonna be able to just like go in and combat and like really kill them, and it like doesn't shake out that way.
No, high toughness, multiple wounds, decent saves with regen or wards is just like your trolls.
Yep. Yeah, the trolls
is a really viable like list at the moment. Like I've not seen it like do massively well in tournaments yet, but I haven't really seen anybody taking it like as a proper troll horde. So
yeah, it's because of the stupidity. Like the stupidity is so tough because you'll be in the middle of the game and you'll fail a stupidity check, and your unit, instead of charging, just has to meander forward.
Yeah, but I mean, it's all meandering forward all the time, isn't it? Isn't that what trolls sort of do? You just kind of meander the whole thing, and it doesn't, because again, so how do you play stupidity? Like, if you move straight forwards into something, you count that as a charge, or?
Do you have to stop? Can you meander into combat? I don't know if you can. Let's see. Stupidity.
Well, it doesn't say you can't.
Oh, you move in the compulsory move phase. So it means that if you do make contact, it counts as a charge. Because in the compulsory move phase, if you ever make contact, it counts as a charge. Because I play Mangler Squigs and Squig Hoppers, and that's the way they work.
Well, it doesn't. It only says that for random move, which is another keyword thing. It's another one of the special rules. Is random moves. So random movers move in the compulsory moves phase, and if they make contact, that counts as a charge. So it's not stuff that moves in the compulsory moves phase. It's the random move rule. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
It allows you to do that. So it doesn't actually explicitly say the stupid people or random move thing. On the random movement, page 176, it says blah blah blah. They cannot march to declare a charge. If the model is able to make contact with an enemy unit during the compulsory move sub-phase or while pursuing, may do so in counts as having charge or one. But it's not a compulsory moves thing.
Oh no. So yeah, compulsory moves on page 122. It says you follow all the rules for normal movement, unless stated otherwise. So it means you have to stop at an inch.
Okay. Other types of normal movement rules. Yeah. Okay. All right. I did that once. Maybe that was wrong.
Yeah. So you can't stupidly trundle into combat because
I always find like the interaction between stupidity and frenzy, that's not been clarified either. Because I think that if you're stupid and you're frenzy, your frenzy would override stupidity.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, so if you have to charge because you're frenzy, then you have to charge stupidity. Just because you're dumb doesn't stop you from being frenzy.
Yeah, it doesn't stop you from being angry.
In fact, you'd be more frenzy because you're less.
you're not coherent. You're like so angry you're stupid.
Yeah, but at the moment it's the other way around, isn't it? But like, I think definitely frenzy should override stupidity, which would help a lot of factions actually. Like, especially chaos. Very interesting. But I can't. I asked you that question. I can't remember what you said. Which faction were you most excited about coming out?
So I am excited about Warriors of Chaos coming out.
Okay.
I've got the fledglings of a Warriors of Chaos army right now. I'm doing all knights, so like Evil Bretonia. I really hope that they come out with is it Harry the Hammer? Wasn't he like one of the champions during the Great War of Chaos during like the Siege of Prague and stuff? Or do you think?
Yeah, no, they said on the preview page that it's going to be a woman. It's going to be a female named special character as the other one.
Huh.
So Galrauch is one, the two-headed, the keeper sequence inside a high elf dragon. So Galrauch isn't a chaos dragon; it's a high elf dragon that was possessed by not a keeper secrets, Lord of Change.
A Lord of Change,
so
yeah.
Change possessed like this high elf dragon and his head split in half and blah blah blah. So Galrauch is not technically not a chaos dragon, but no. So Galrauch is a special character. His rules were really weird in 6th as well. So
yeah, he was like 2 level 4s.
No, I think he was like, I can't remember exactly, but I think he was like a level. I think he was like a level 4 wizard, but he had loads of other cool wizards.
Yeah.
Sort of stuff.
Oh no, it was Kairos was the one that was 2 level 4s.
Yeah.
Galruch is just a level 4, but then he's also a dragon that has like he has change breath, I think.
Yeah, and then he had like bonuses to cast and stuff like that, and like. No, that wasn't him. I was thinking all doubles were irresistible force, but it wasn't him. But anyway, they might do, rules-wise, they might do something quite complicated to make him like a super good wizard and a dragon, which would be epic, because, I mean, I'd really like to take a Sorcerer Lord on a Chaos Dragon, but because the Chaos Dragon gives you only 1 extra toughness.
Yeah, so T5. Yeah, T5. Yeah. That was like... Yeah, I was talking about that with toughness 4 and toughness 5 on lone entities is tough, and that's one of them is the dragon, the sorcerer lord on dragon.
Yeah, I don't know why they given like toughness modifiers. If you see what I mean.
Yeah, it should just go, just makes them toughness 6. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just have monsters all having like a toughness stat, and you pick the one that's best. And then that would be the toughness for the model, but, whatever. Well, I mean, I don't suppose it makes any difference, really. It only makes a difference for a Sorcerer Lord of Chaos, really. That's the only one example where that will make any difference. But, yeah, I mean, yeah. So I'm really looking forward to Chaos Warriors. I love the fact that we've got the Warfire Dragon back. That's going to be cool. Like, I can't wait to see the rules for that, because you could have, like, a proper dragon army. Hopefully it's like cheaper than 250 points. They can have 2 of them.
Yeah, right.
They can have Galrauch and 2 of these Warfire Dragons, and then just a load of knights. That'd be an epic army.
Yeah, it would be really cool. The one rule that I'm sad that Chaos Knights don't have that other knights do is countercharge. Like, it's weird that Chosen Knights get it, but the regular Knights don't. But then Empire Knights get it, and Bretonnian Knights get it, and Blood Knights get it. Like, all the Knights other than the core Chaos Knights don't have countercharge.
Well, and more annoyingly, the Demonic Steed doesn't have it either. I mean, they've corrected the Chaos Steed.
Yeah.
So, but you don't. So if you put your Lord on a Demonic Steed, you can't really put him in the unit Chosen because he takes that ability away, which is very annoying. But actually, having played a bit with Chaos, I think like lone characters on Demonic Steeds are pretty useful, especially with like the 360.
Yeah.
If you tool up a Chaos Lord, you've got a decent move, you've got a decent toughness, a reasonably decent level of wounds. you can still take like the Beguiling Helm if you want all those abilities. You can still, you've got your ward and your regen saves all locked in, so it's reasonably tanky. Give it a great weapon, then I can go around and just hunt everything.
Yeah.
And this would be quite difficult to deal with, as a single entity. But I think as soon as you put it in a unit, it becomes like tied to the unit, has to maneuver and all the rest. So
yeah.
Hence me digging this chap out of storage, if you remember him.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, the metal Archaon.
Yeah. You can kill someone with that model.
Yeah, super pointy.
Yeah. The one thing I'm really disappointed about with Chaos is bloody Hell Cannons, because they're just absolutely awful.
Yeah,
like,
they are garbage.
Okay, pretty much total garbage. Yeah. Well, they are and they aren't. I just wish there was a way of making them slightly more reliable. Because you got two chances to essentially misfire every turn, haven't you? Pretty much, because you got the leadership testing and then you've got the actual firing of the gun. So there's two chances every turn for it to misfire, and one of those misfires, it blows up and kills half your army.
Yeah,
that's not a good thing to have.
Yeah.
So, it's which is a pity because I absolutely love that one.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically how I got into commission painting. So I painted one, then a few people saw it. They were like, "Oh, that's really nice. Can you do one of them for me?" So I was like, "All right." So I ended up painting about 10 or 15 of them.
Oh wow.
All slightly different, but it's a beautiful model to paint. I love that one. So it's a picture the rules are rubbish.
Yeah, I absolutely adore that model. So I have one, and then when Fantasy got broken, I converted it into being a soul grinder. So I put the cannon on the crab legs, like the spider legs, and that's my soul grinder defiler stand-in for my demons or chaos marine army, and it looks sick. It looks so cool.
It's not bad because the soul grinder is pretty decent for old demons, isn't it?
Yeah.
Although I still find it a bit of a weird inclusion because it's obviously 40k, right? Why is it in fantasy?
Yeah, no, in fantasy, it's it is so good because it has built-in reserve move and it's movement 8.
Yeah.
So it moves 8, shoots, and then moves 8.
Yeah.
And it's got killing blow because it's got those big old claws.
Yeah. It's got lots of things going in its favour. Yeah. Aside from the model, it doesn't look old world at all.
Yeah, it doesn't look old world at all. Yeah, and it's on the biggest base that they have, so it's on the 100 by 150.
Yeah, which is a pick to use.
Yeah. And it's sideways, so you have to have the 150 as your front arc.
Interesting.
Yeah, because it says in the description, it says that it's 150 by 100, so you have to take that big old base and turn it sideways.
Oh, interesting. Did they say that for Tomb Scorpions?
I don't know for Tomb Scorpions because I don't. That's one army that I don't play is the Tomb Kings. Are Tomb Scorpions on 50 by 50s?
No, because they're these things. They're on that back, but they do fill the model that way. So I think it does say 75 by 50, not 50 by 75.
Yeah, so the 75 has to be in the front.
I've modelled them right.
Sweet.
You just gave me some doubts there when you started talking about bases. Oh, hold on, have I?
Yeah, are they on the right thing? Oh no.
Well, I could say they were kind of crabbing it across like Zoidberg. Yeah, cool. Out of the non-supported factions, which one would be your vote to come back?
To go to supported?
Yeah.
Absolutely demons. Absolutely.
Absolutely demons.
Yeah.
Pretty obvious.
Yeah. If I had to choose one of the legacy factions to go back to being in the regular, I want to see all the legacy factions go back to being.
Obviously.
But if I had to pick one, it would be demons.
Oh, interesting. Well, yeah, that's pretty obvious, isn't it? for me, I'd really like to see Chaos Dwarves back.
Yeah.
But I think Skaven need the support at the moment more than anything because they're just so that they need something. So and I do love your Rat Men. That was the faction I won a tournament with in 6th edition. It was just I love the chaos. It's brilliant. And they've got, despite the fact they're such murderous little buggers, they're so charming. Funny, kind of very endearing little psychopaths.
Yeah, right. With 5 appendages because of the tail instead of 4.
Yeah. Loads of attacks. Yeah. I want assassins to be good as well.
Yeah.
But,
I do list building all the time on Old World Builder or whatever it is online. I love, it's one thing that I absolutely love about Old World is that it scratches that itch of like list building that 40K like took away, because 40K it's like you just put your guys in, any upgrades are just free, and really
I thought that was weird when they did that.
Yeah, it was really weird when they did that. But the like list building, I like absolutely love doing that. And the only faction that I actually have a really hard time building stuff with is Skaven, because I want assassins to be good, and they can only take 50 points worth of magic items. They don't have enough attacks. If you give them a magic weapon, it turns off their special ability with their warp weapons or whatever it's called. They really...
You want an assassin with a fell blade,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's the narrative. That's where, it was built for an assassin to go and kill Nagash. That's the point of it. So that's exactly what you want, right?
Yep.
Just want one assassin with a fell blade to do some overpowered stuff for about a turn before he gets squished. That's what you want it to do, right? So yeah, the points on the magic item is a problem. But I think the main problem is just a lack of swift stride. Like, you look at the factions, and that's the pattern that comes across in the meta so frequently, is that the better factions either have a lot of swift stride that they can use, or they have a really good counter to it. So like Undead are a really good example, because their counter to it is, well, basically just they don't die very quickly. So you can't just thump them with a load of heavy cavalry. You've got to actually grind through them. And like Britonia, that has a lot of heavy cavalry, it's very thumpy, but it's not very grindy. Does that make sense? So it finds it difficult to grind through big units of stuff, especially big units of stuff that keeps regenerating and coming back. Or like Chaos Dwarves that have the massive cannon thing, which turns off swift stride. It's like one of the best the mortar, Dreadquake mortar, because so you pick, so wherever it hits, everybody within 2d6 of that can't use swift stride, I think, and then maybe -1 move as well. I can't remember, but they definitely can't use swift stride. So unless a faction's got a hard counter to it, then it's just not doing very well in the meta. And you've seen that with the Beasts of Chaos started really strongly, but then they started to tail off, and I think it's that they don't really have any decent cavalry units. So I think the current meta is definitely cavalry heavy, and that's the problem with Skaven. They just don't have anything. They don't have
there's no answer to it, because they can bring Swift Stride as a banner, but then they have no fast units.
Yeah. So the only unit you can put that on is a unit of like Storm Vermin. They've only got movement 5 anyway, so maximum threat range of 14 is not really massive. And then when they get there, they're not that good. You've got a rapid delivery system for a load of rubbish. It's not. I think the only thing that's really, really good in the Skaven list is, well, Jezzail's are pretty good, I think, and the little chariot doom wheel.
Oh yeah.
I think
the grinder thing.
Pardon?
Oh, you mean the doom wheel that does the lightning shots?
Yeah, because you do it every shooting phase.
Yeah.
And so you get 3 shots in their shooting phase as well, and it's within 8 inches. I misread the rules initially. I thought it meant you had to centre it on the top of the doom wheel, then scatter from there. But actually, you can get them down the flanks, and as long as you protect them, I think you can do an awful lot of damage with having maximum doom wheels. But I think that's possibly the only good thing you've got. And I suppose the other thing Skaven have got going for them is they do have a lot of chaff that you can throw at the enemy. So they do have a lot of models that you can go on the table with. So rattling guns, Chisales, Doom Wheels, minimal heroes probably is the answer, maybe.
Yeah, just a couple heroes, and you do them really small. Something that I haven't seen that I am surprised that I haven't seen is people running is it the Night Runners or the Gutter Runners? The special choice.
Runners, yeah.
That you can give them slings and poison attacks, and you take like units of 10, and you do the same ability that Wood Elves do, and you just say, I'm going to pump out 1,000,000 poison shots, and I'm surprised that I haven't seen that. I've only seen the 6 rattling gun list.
Well, I haven't seen that one, but yeah, I mean, I'm not sure that would be any good.
Yeah,
That's the other good thing about the old world, though. Like, if you do try and overload on something and take too much of something, it actually does screw with your overall balance. Then you end up with something that's just something too much. So it would work really well against it. Like 6 rattling guns would probably work quite well against like orcs and goblins, or like chaos, or anything that has to like get there to do damage, you know. But against range factions, I think that would like really struggle.
Yeah.
With anything with shooting, it would just really struggle. Anything with like war machines, you know, because you just hit them with a stone thrower, because it's an open order unit, so you can just target them.
Can you target a weapon, a Skaven weapon team, if it's within range of a?
Yeah. It's just it's got open order.
Oh, they don't get. For some reason, I thought the War Machines got lone character protection or something.
No, it's just a single model.
Oh man, that is rough.
Well, it is and it isn't, because it's open order. You can, like with your rattling guns, just park it in front of a unit, so your opponent has to charge the rattling gun. And because it's got a quick shot, it can then, you know, do a quick burst before they hit, and then they get redirected away.
Yeah.
So they don't smack into your unit of Skaven, so they might expose their flank or whatever. So, pros and cons really, isn't it? But like I said, it works really well against combat armies, but not very well against like shooting armies.
Yeah.
Just get rid of them.
Yeah, they're just gonna shoot them.
Yeah. So Skaven. I love my Skaven, but I wish. The other thing that I find quite interesting about the meta at the moment is that hardly anybody's taking Lizardmen.
Yeah,
despite the fact that they're quite good and all the models are available. I don't get this. Like, nobody seems to be taking them. I just find that a bit weird.
Yeah, I've played one game against Lizardmen, and then that's the only time I've ever seen them. I haven't seen them in any of the tournaments that I've played in. And in the slow grow, we had one guy that is the guy that I played against, and I played against him at like 1250, I want to say. So it wasn't even a 2,000 point game. And then I haven't seen him other than that.
It's like the Carnosaur just kills monsters. It does like so much damage, and it's got like multiple wins, D3, and tons of attacks, and like frenzy if it sniffs some blood or whatever, and old blood on top as well that provides a bit of protection, and you know, high weapon skill and all that kind of stuff. So you know, it's really, the Carnosaur's a really good monster killer, and then Bastiladons are just absolutely fantastic. Like, it's a relatively hard bound spell, but it's a bound spell, so it can't miscast.
Yeah,
and it just like 3d3 strength 5 or 6 AP2 hits or something, which is just absolutely mega. It's just, you know, there's so much that's really good in Blizzard, but just people aren't taking it. I don't know. There's a guy called Robbie. Oh, I can't remember his surname now. It's just falling out of my head. Robbie, I think begins with an S. Anyway, I think he lives in Yorkshire somewhere, Sheffield. So he's in England. He takes Lisbon. He's won, I think, more or less every tournament he's entered with them. Probably Susan, I think his name is, or something. But yeah, I've been talking to him. But yeah, he seems to be the only Lizardman player. Yeah, weird.
Yeah, because the Carnosaur you can take like 3 of those, can't you? Because the lower level hero can take a Carnosaur.
You can. You probably wouldn't want to, because again, it's one of those things that you need like everything in the old world. I think it's the one game where you absolutely always need a balanced army, especially when you go into a tournament.
Yeah.
We're always going to get people who've overextended in one direction.
Yeah.
Very easy to beat. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like the Empire Gunliner face with like tons of outriders and cannons and Hellblasters and steam tanks and all sorts, and you can just get around it and then get into the meat of it, and then which is basically all the artillery, and then that all just dies.
Yeah.
Sequentially, because like you kill one thing over and kill the next, and it all just disappears.
Yeah.
If you're overbalanced, and if you're overbalanced and you take like a massive cavalry army, that will do all right until you get somebody with like an unbreakable massive block of skeletons that it can't kill in one turn, and they all come back, and then you're tied up and you never get any victory points until you get broken and you run away.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those games where you do need a balanced army regardless of whatever you're taking. So if you do, that said,
yeah.
High elves taking double dragon, that seems to be the answer for them. So what do I know?
Well, it's because their wizard can take a dragon, and the reason why their wizard on a dragon works where chaos doesn't work is because theirs can go ethereal, so they can be like, and now you can't shoot me, and I get to fly around and do whatever I want, and then
and T6.
Oh yeah, because their codex cheated and all their characters are the same toughness.
Yeah. So their dragon gives them +3. Yeah. Chaos Dragon only gives +1 for some reason.
Yeah. Only +1, and then they made it so the Chaos Lord is base T5.
Yeah. I don't understand why the Sorcerer Lord's not toughness 5 base, to be honest.
Yeah, because he's a fighty guy, comes in armor and all the stuff.
Yeah, he's supposed to be not terrible in combat, and generally he's not actually that bad in combat. Like, I've had a Sorcerer Lord take out a couple of Gyrocopters before, so they're not terrible. They're all right.
Mm-hmm.
Give them a great weapon, they'll be fine.
Yeah.
Cool.
Hey, so I super appreciate the time and doing the conversation, and we can absolutely, I'll let you know when I'm doing my next tournament. It should be, I think September is going to be my next tournament. So, should be coming up here pretty soon. Remember to like and subscribe, and let me know what you guys think of this kind of video, and go to Dan's channel and subscribe over there. And remember, 'cause bad guys.